Hi ho, it's Silver. Welcome to this week's broadcast of How to Be Happy Again. I'm glad that you've decided to join me, whether it's live or you're listening to a recording. We talk every week about how to be happy again, and it's based on my recovery from 30 years of clinical depression and coupled with PTSD and alcoholism. Boy, was I a drinker. Thankfully, that's behind me. So tonight, what I wanted to talk about was a shortcut to being happier. And what that is self-talk. Self-talk. I love this topic because I think it really hits home for many, many people. When I got my daughters from foster care, they were 12 and 15 years old. And I knew, because I'm kind of a smart gal, that they had been pretty beat up by life. They were sisters who hadn't lived together for 10 years, and one of them was tough as nails on the outside and a marshmallow on the inside, and the other one was this happy-go-lucky person on the outside and just miserable on the inside. So I knew they didn't need more negativity from me. And so I was very careful how I talked to them, very careful. And one day I was having a talk with myself. I had done something wrong and I was beating myself up for it. I don't know if you all have any experience of doing that to yourself, but I was being pretty harsh on myself. And I realized in that moment that if I talked to my daughters the way I talked to myself, that I would be arrested for child abuse. Let that sink in for a minute. If I talked to my daughters the way I talk to myself, I would be arrested for child abuse. And so that's when I started really looking at or listening to how I talk to myself. And it's interesting because I was in therapy at the time, and I remember that my therapist, I went to him one day and I joined a gym. I joined Gold's Gym, which back then was, Schwarzenegger and all the bodybuilding guys and women. And I was really afraid to go in. And so my therapist asked me, well, what goes on? What prevents you from going in there? And I said, well, I keep thinking that they're going to look at me and they're going to think, what's she doing here? And they're going to just sort of be rolling their eyes at me and judging me. And I don't want to go in. I'm terrified. And so he said, and this was such a key to my recovery, and I use it to this day. He said, look, the little girl inside of you doesn't trust you because you have taken her to some very dangerous places. And it was true. In my drinking, I had just dragged us into situations that were, looking back, really dangerous. And so he said, she doesn't trust you. So you need to win back her trust. And he said, what I want you to do is the next time you want to go to the gym, I want you to, in your mind, take little Silver by the hand and say to her, I won't let anybody make fun of you. I'm an adult now, and I can take care of us both. Now it seemed a little weird to me at the time, might seem a little weird to you, but I have to tell you something. It worked. It worked. And I started using it in other situations because one of the things I was covering up with my drinking was just how terrified I was in life. I remember just being scared all the time, but I didn't think so then. I used alcohol to cover all of that up, and so I thought I was how I presented to the world, which is this self-confident career woman, blah, blah, blah. In reality, I was really scared a lot, and it was reflected in the way that I talked to myself. And one of the reasons I was scared is because I was kind of mean. I was mean to me. I used to say things to myself like, how could you be so stupid? And one of the things that I have learned is that when you pose a question to your mind, like, how could you be so stupid? It will tell you. And it will tell you in detail of all the times in your life that you've done stupid things. And it will just fill that in for you. So not only do you have to be careful how you talk to yourself, you also want to be careful what kind of questions you ask yourself. So really what we're talking about here is self-compassion. And I want you to remember that you get more of what you focus on. That is the foundation of my recovery from depression and alcoholism, is that I learned to manage my mind. Sean Aker calls it, I love this, the lens through which we see the world. The lens through which we see the world. So when you can adjust the lens through which you see the world and look at things that please you, then your world will get better. And it won't just be that you think it's better, that's part of it, but it actually will get better, because you'll be attracting things that you want, because you get more of what you focus on. And so I had to learn to be self-loving. Now I have to tell you, I'm still learning these lessons. Today, because I knew I was going to talk about this tonight, I was more aware of my self-talk, and I caught myself saying 3 cuss words in a row. I won't tell you what they were, but you can use your imaginations. Okay, I'll go minor. I was saying, damn, 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 because I had gone into the kitchen to get something, and I got back to my office, and I didn't have it because I'd forgotten what I was in there for. I did something else. I like to call this threading. You're following a thread, wherever it leads you. And so I'm saying to myself, damn, damn, damn. And yes, I was upset that I, had to make a second trip. But I mean, gosh, it's, maybe 10 steps. But more, it was me saying to myself, really in disguise, how could you be such an idiot? And so what happens is you learn how to apply this whole concept of you get more of what you focus on, is you sometimes become what we like to call a smart rat. You know what not to do, but you figure out other ways to do it. So, I want you to think about how often during the day you beat yourself up for doing something or not doing something, and whether you say things to yourself that you would never ever say to another human being. That's really important, because self-talk really is self-talk. How do I want to say this? It really is the lens that you select how you see the world. And so you really want to start thinking about praising yourself. Because the other thing is that when I was really bad at this, and when I was just beating myself up constantly, one of the things that I wanted from other people is I wanted them to praise me. I wanted them to tell me how great I was all the time. And honestly, if I couldn't convince myself that I was great, how was I going to attract other people that thought I was great? Really? Because you get more of what you focus on. And so part of what I encourage you to do is start really looking at what you do well and what you're doing well during the day. 9 out of 10 times when I go into that kitchen for something, I remember what it is, especially if it's food, because I love food. But, that one time I forgot something, I get mad at myself. And we do this, like I say, on a regular basis. So what do you do well? One of the things right now is that we're all in COVID-19 lockdown. Not all of us, but most of us are in some sort of COVID-19 lockdown. And so part of what could really help you is having a conversation with your younger self. When you get really anxious about how things are going and what's happening, you might want to have a conversation with your younger self, because again, your younger self doesn't trust you, and so it makes you anxious about what's going to happen, what the future holds, etc. So if you could have a conversation with your younger self, what kinds of things would you tell him or her? So, for example, you might want to say things, hang on, I want to just check this moderation. You might want to say things to your younger self like, look, we've done pretty well, I have my own apartment, I have a car, I have a job, I had a job, I can get another job. Just whatever accomplishments that you've had in your life, you really want to tell your younger self, this is what's coming. This is what's coming. And so for you to be nervous now, there's no need to, because I have learned how to take care of us. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm telling you, I know there was a period of time where people used to really make fun of this inner child work. I remember Don Henley of the Eagles. He wrote a song, and one of the lyrics was, I'm going to find your inner child and kick its little ass. But that's the kind of self-talk. I want to work with Don Henley and tell him he needs to be nicer to his inner child. So think about maybe why your inner child, your little person inside of you. I call mine Little Silver, whatever your name is. You can call him Mini Me, whatever you want to call that small child inside of you. But he or she is still there. And you really become aware that they're there when you go into some fear that really doesn't make any sense given the circumstances. So you want to just really reassure her and talk to her in a way that you would a small child if they were afraid, because that's what you're doing. I have used this in so many different ways. I've used it when I coach people and mentor them as an example of what they should do. But I've also used it for when I go out on stage. Sometimes my little girl gets me by the throat. I get a dry throat and sweaty hands, and I just have to talk to her and let her know that the people in the audience want me to do well. They want me to be entertaining. I've done this 1,000 times before, and it's always turned out well. So it's just that ability to calm yourself. Now, one of the forms of therapy that I'm really fond of is something called dialectical behavior therapy. And that is how you talk to yourself. So if you feel like you have a really deep problem with this, and that maybe you could use some external help, I recommend that you look up at your county mental health association or department and see if they offer classes in dialectical behavior therapy, because they will help you learn how to do this. If you've spent your whole life being mean to you, then it's going to take a little extra effort for you to learn how to do this. But start right away. The next time you have and by the way, your gut will always tell you if you're being mean to yourself. So the next time you have that gut feeling that something's wrong and you're having a real negative talk with yourself, what you want to do is say, okay, whoa, hold on here, time out. And then talk to yourself the way you would to reassure the little child inside of you. My little child's pretty content these days. She wasn't earlier today when I went to the kitchen and forgot what I was after. But actually, that's not my little child. That's me. That's the adult mean me. And she's scared because I'm being mean to both of us. So this sounds like some kind of a comedy act, like who's on first. But I promise you it works. And I'd love to hear from you. Let me know, first of all, if you do this. Put in the comments. I check the comments even if it's, from you listen from a recording. And let me know what you've done to either improve that or what you're going to do. Because it really is, what happens is, many of us have people in our childhood who were not the best at what they did. Sometimes we had a mean teacher, sometimes we had a mean parent, and we live with that person's opinion of us without ever redoing it. And so this is really an invitation for you to rewrite your childhood and let the younger you know that good things are coming and that life gets better and better and better, because you've learned how to focus, how to change the lens through which you see the world, and the world's gotten a lot better. So I invite you, if you don't already get my weekly happiness hacks through your email, go to silverhappiness.com and sign up for my weekly vlog. It's a video log. And do reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you other topics that you might like me to talk about. So this is Silver saying, I'm going to sign up for now, but here's what I want you to know. You deserve to be happy, and it is possible. This is Silver saying, away!